5:30 on Wednesday, January 19th, and I'll call to order this regular meeting of the Board of Education. Ms. Stoykoy, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Coco? Here. Mr. Gomez?
Here.
Mr. Harris?
Here.
Ms. Schaefer?
Here.
Ms. White?
Here.
Motion to approve the agenda. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the agenda of the January 19th, 2022 regular Board of Education meeting. Action by the Board of Education and adoption of a consent agenda means that all items are adopted by one singular motion unless a member of the Board of Education, treasurer, or superintendent requests that any such item be removed from the consent agenda and voted upon separately.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? I just have one thing to note. So we have several presentations here. We'll get through Staff Star and Top Tiger, and then we're going to get through as much of the other two before 6 p.m. But then at 6 p.m. we're going to go straight to superintendent search firms, just so we're aware of where we're going tonight. Will you please call the roll?
Ms. Coco? Aye. Mr. Gomez?
Aye.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Ms. Schaefer?
Aye.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Welcome. We want to welcome our Staff Star, and we want to welcome our Top Tigers and their families and friends as well. Our vision, Cuyahoga Falls City Schools, the hub of our community, committed to a culture of caring. We innovate, we create, we personalize education for all. Our mission, every student, every day, every opportunity. Informational items. This meeting is a meeting of the Cuyahoga Falls Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business. It is not a public community meeting, although there are opportunities for public participation. If an individual wishes to address the board regarding a topic found on the meeting agenda, the individual must complete a registration form found inside the attendance notebook and present it to the treasurer. Following the introduction of the topic by the board president, followed by board discussion, the individual will be recognized. If an individual wishes to address the board regarding a topic not found on the meeting agenda, they must notify the superintendent and/or board president of the topic no later than 3 business days in advance of the meeting. These individuals may share their comments during the board business portion of the agenda. In both cases, comments will include the name and address of the individual and be limited to 3 minutes. In addition, in public session, the board will not hear complaints about school personnel nor against any person connected with the school system. An unabridged board agenda for this meeting can be found on your electronic device at the address shown on the screen. For your convenience, hard copies of the board agenda may be found on the table near the entrance next to the sign-in book. The next regularly scheduled meetings of the Cuyahoga Falls Board of Education are a work session on January 26, 2022, the Cuyahoga Falls High School Library, 2300 4th Street at 5:30 p.m., February 2nd, 2022 at the Natatorium, 2345 4th Street at 5:30 p.m., and February 16th at the Natatorium at 5:30 p.m. The 612 construction meeting is scheduled for January 20th, 2022 in the Cuyahoga Falls High School Library at 6 p.m. Now for our Pledge of Allegiance and positive reflections, Mr. Harris.
Please stand if you're able. Flag's over there in the corner. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For my positive reflection this evening, seeing as how we celebrated Dr. King's 93rd birthday on Monday, I thought it was only appropriate to do one of his quotes. You will change your mind, you will change your looks, you will change your smile, laugh, and ways. But no matter what you change, you will always be you.
Thank you. Item D, presentations. Number 1, staff recognition, our Staff Star Award. Mrs. McClure and the Board of Education.
Good evening, everybody. So our Staff Star Award is an award that our staff chooses and nominates their colleagues for. So we like to start off our meetings with this so that our kids who are here in the audience, the Top Tigers, can also see that along with their recognition, we are certainly committed to recognizing our staff. Tonight, we'd like to recognize Mrs. Melinda Hosford. Melinda, if you want to join me up here. Melinda is a phys ed teacher at Roberts Middle School, so I'll also ask Mr. Geyer, the principal of Roberts, to come on up and join me. Oh, we'll clap for him too. So Melinda was nominated by not one or two people, but by three people since the end of the first semester. So I do have a little bit of a lengthy read in front of me. The first person tells us that Melinda consistently goes above and beyond, not only to improve the lives of her students, but for the entire district of Cuyahoga Falls. I have study hall duty with her, and I'm amazed at how much she does for each individual student on a daily basis. She does her best not only to help them with their academics, but also their social emotional needs. Melinda is one of the driving forces behind the turkey trot here at Roberts, which led to over 4,000 cans being donated to good neighbors of Cuyahoga Falls. Her impact on this building, this district, and this community cannot be understated. So that's nomination number one. Number two, Melinda is kind, generous, thoughtful, respectful to everyone, and is the highlight of my and my students' day. She was one of the main contributors of the UA team at Roberts to make the turkey trot a success and an enjoyable event for everyone. Melinda consistently steps up to help others, staff and students, and always with a smile. You could even see her smile through her mask. Melinda has an amazing rapport with her students and takes time to get to know them for who they really are, and you can see how much she cares about everyone she comes into contact with. When I started at Roberts last year, she took me under her wing and made me feel like I was part of the UA team. UA stands for Unified Arts, for those of you that aren't sure. This was huge for me since I moved up from the elementary level and during such a crazy COVID year. Melinda Hosford is an excellent example of a shining star and needs to be recognized as making Roberts and Cuyahoga Falls City School District a better place. And finally, Mrs. Hosford and her teaching partner, Mr. Blevins, made a huge difference in our students' daily lives as physical education teachers at Roberts Middle School. However, every November, they lead the charge for our entire building to make a tremendous difference in our local community. They organize our annual turkey trot race and canned food drive that supports good neighbors of Cuyahoga Falls. Roberts Middle School has hosted this event for 38 consecutive years, but this year's event was by far the most successful one. Other than the students having a great time running the race, they also donated over 4,000 cans and more than $1,300 in cash to the good neighbors of Cuyahoga Falls. Mrs. Hosford also orchestrated the staff donation of over 25 frozen turkeys and meals to be raffled off to our students and their families. She truly went above and beyond to make sure everyone had a chance to have a great Thanksgiving. The annual turkey trot is truly a special event, and it is because of Mrs. Hosford's hard work and dedication to our school family. We are blessed to have her in our lives and sincerely thank both Mrs. Hosford and Mr. Blevins for being such fantastic role models to our students. So congratulations, Mrs. Hosford. I want to share with you, everybody see it? So all of our staff star winners get this wonderful star recipient that they can put in their office or their classroom. And it says the Cuyahoga Falls City School Star recipient in recognition of your outstanding contribution to the achievement of Cuyahoga Falls City School District students and the support of Cuyahoga Falls City School District staff members. So I'd like to give that to you. I'll give you a hug.
Thank you so much. I've been in Cuyahoga Falls since '98. I taught at Sill, I taught at Silver Lake, and I have been home for about 13 years at Roberts, loving it. Excited about what will happen when we merge. Love my principal. I had Ellen as a principal at Silver Lake before as well, and I've had Ellie for a short time as well. So a lot of love in this room, but thank you so much, and I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our second presentation is our Top Tigers recognition, Mr. Shabady.
Good evening. Last board meeting, I had the opportunity to present to the elementary students, and I was like thinking, there's got to be some good older kids in this school district. I know there are. And tonight we get to recognize them. But before I do that, I'd like to introduce Gary Metcalf. He is the executive director of the Alumni and School Cuyahoga Falls City Schools School Foundation. Gary?
Congratulations to all the top Tigers and their families tonight from the Cuyahoga Falls Schools Foundation. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Donato's Pizza, Dietz's Florists, and Young Screen Printing. Some of the things that the Schools Foundation does, we help with the new entrance to Clifford Stadium, Tiger Trail. If you still would like to purchase a brick, you can see me afterwards. I can make that happen. We help with class reunions. Check out our website, the Schools Foundation website. Your class might be, website might be incorporated with ours. We sponsor an all-class reunion. We honor distinguished alumni. We help out with teacher grants. In the last 7 years, we have awarded $35,000 to our teachers and staff in the school system with grants. But most of all, we award scholarships to our graduating seniors. In the past 7 years, we've awarded over $1 million worth of scholarships. And we could not do that without the help of our alumni. Thank you very much. Oh, last but not least, I forgot. All top Tigers will get one of these t-shirts this evening. And we hope we'll be able to march in the Memorial Day Parade and wear your t-shirt.
Okay, at this time, we'd like to recognize the following students. First of all, you need to understand this is a very prestigious award. Out of all the students in this district, you've been selected, and so I hope you take that as a true honor. First, I'd like to introduce from Bow Lake Middle School, Gia Smith. Gia, are you here? Come on up here, Gia. Gia was nominated by Mr. Faulkner, Ms. Golee, Mrs. Mitchart for the month of December. Gia has earned the role of top Tiger for her work ethic, eagerness to help others, social awareness, and her positive attitude. Gia is always quick to assist others in class around her when they are in need. On one occasion in health class, Gia provided detailed notes to a student who was out of class for a long period of time. Gia did this without anyone ever asking her to do so. This shows Gia's thoughtful willingness to go out of her way for others. Gia is always in class on time and prepared to do her best. Gia is aware of expectations from others around her, including teachers and students in class. Gia is always highly organized and ready to accept the next challenge in class and in life. It is because of these outstanding attributes that Gia has earned the Top Tiger Award. Gia Smith. Next, Bow Lake Middle School, Joseph Ciccarello. Sounds Italian to me, I don't know. Yeah. Joseph was nominated by Mrs. Bertroff for the month of December 2021. Joey is an outstanding member of the music creations class at Bow Lake Middle School. He exemplifies Black Tiger pride every day. Joey is always willing to ask great questions and answer questions in class. He gets along with every student in the room despite not necessarily being close friends with them. Joey is a leader by encouraging some of his less motivated friends to get their work done and is always willing to help them when they are confused. Joey is such a great level-headed person. Even when people are bothering him, he is able to de-escalate a situation with maturity. Joey represents Black Tiger pride at Bow Lake every day by being respectful, taking responsibility, and practicing safety. Congratulations, Joseph. Next, from Roberts Middle School, Kaya Jessup. Roberts is so fortunate to have Kaya in our lives. He is smart, kind, and just an absolute pleasure to be around. He has worked extremely hard in all of his classes, earning nearly straight A's for his efforts. Kaya brings a positive and joyous energy to every space that he enters. His teachers rave about him, saying he quietly goes above and beyond what is expected of him and is always ready to help others with a smile on his face. We know that he will continue to make great friendships and be a tremendous role model in our building for others. For these reasons, Kaya is our top Tiger. Congratulations. Also from Roberts Middle School, Braden Johnson. Braden here? All right. Well, we'll make sure we get his information to him. From Cuyahoga Falls High School, Lauren Martin. Lauren here? Come on up, Lauren. Lauren is a Cuyahoga Falls High School student in the 12th grade as an individual that consistently demonstrates top Tiger behaviors and characteristics at school and within our Black Tiger family. She is an amazing leader in student council and has stepped up and taken charge in so many events to make sure the event is successful. It has been an honor to work with Lauren to see her grow and become such a wonderful student, leader, and person. Congratulations, Lauren. Thank you. Also from Cuyahoga Falls High School, Lynn Roberts. Lynn here? We'll make sure Lynn gets the recognition as well. Again, congratulations, students. We're all so very proud of you. Thank you.
One more round of applause. So top Tigers, Mr. Metcalf is out in the hallway and you can let him know what size t-shirt you need. And if your families would like to leave and go have dinner and ice cream and celebrate you, this is a good time to do that. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Well, I'm going to invite up Mrs. McClure for presentation number 3, book study presentation, Group 1, Resilient Leadership.
All right, and I'd like to invite the members of our team, Mr. Gomez, Tammy Brown from Preston, Julie Dudones from the Curriculum Department, Chris Shaw from Student Services, Chris Geyer from Roberts, and Kenny Johnson is also on our team, but I believe he had an athletic event that is prohibiting him from being here with us. So this is our team for our book study. For those of you who don't know about our book study, the administration, in conjunction with the Board of Education, has been doing a book study with this book called Resilient Leadership. This is the first group that's going to present. Thank you. Oh yeah, I'm short. Sorry. So we are just going to kind of discuss a little bit about an overview of the book, some of the key ideas, and then each month you'll hear more from the other groups. So before we get started, I want to acknowledge our visual aid for all you other groups. We're setting the bar high here. We want to thank Tina Brown's daughter, Lindsay Brown, for putting that together for us. So you see it's an iceberg, and you clearly see the water line here. So it's meant to replicate the cover of the book. So what is resilient leadership? Resilient leadership is a new way of seeing, thinking, and leading that helps us as leaders navigate through the dynamics that might be hidden within our organizations and to be more effective with it. Resilient leaders are able to lead with calmness and clarity and conviction in the midst of anxiety, and that's an interesting word. We'll talk a little bit about that. That anxiety is provoked by increasing complexity and accelerating change. And if there's one thing in education we know about is complexity and change. Resilient leaders are also able to lead from strength. They know how to care for themselves emotionally, spiritually, and physically, and they can sustain their leadership efforts over time. So I want to focus in part of that definition on a new way of seeing, and that's really what we're going to wrap our presentation around tonight. So if we think about a new way of seeing things, every organization, according to the authors in the book, is composed of both a rational system, which you can see here at the top of the iceberg, and an emotional system, which is here at the bottom. Now, Y'all saw the movie Titanic. So when you think about the Titanic, the iceberg, they only saw a little tiny bit of it, right? So really only about 10% of an entire iceberg is visual to people at the surface level. The rest of the iceberg is underneath. And you can think about the systems of leadership and the systems of anxiety in the same way. There's the part that's at the top, the rational system, and the part that really people can't see, and that's the emotional system. So the rational system includes all of the stuff that we as leaders do, the fact and fiction, the facts and figures that we are trained to pay attention to and to manage. A lot of managing is in your rational system. It's observable, and it's made of objective information and data. The rational system is your feeling self. Part of the rational system is called reactivity, which is here. Reactivity is an awareness of an unhealthy level of anxiety. Okay? So we all have anxiety, and one of the things that we as a group spent a lot of time discussing was that anxiety is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just maintaining those healthy levels of anxiety. And part of your rational system, when you react to things, is part of that unhealthy level of anxiety kind of bubbling to the surface. So the emotional system, or what's on the bottom, is the instinctive pattern of automatic actions, reactions, or interactions that shape the functioning of an individual or a team or a whole organization. There's a whole lot more under the surface. The emotional system is considered the thinking self as compared to the feeling self. So part of what's in your emotional system is chronic anxiety. When we talk about anxiety again, chronic anxiety, the definition is an abiding sense of unease about imagined or anticipated threats. But that's the anxiety that you can manage. And that's what a resilient leader is able to do, is to manage that chronic anxiety so that it doesn't overtake your whole reactivity system up here at the top. Anxiety is essential for all of us. Too little anxiety puts us at a risk for not dealing with things that are a true threat. Too much anxiety cripples us with an excessive preoccupation over our basic survival. So just the right amount of anxiety results in us being healthy leaders who know how to lead a balanced life and in turn can become successful leaders. So in closing, there's a practice which we learned about that can help you develop those skills necessary to recognize our own levels of anxiety and our own levels of reactivity, and we call that getting on the balcony. So imagine you're in a crowded ballroom or in a dance club. Put yourself on the balcony and observe your surroundings, including yourself, observing yourself in those surroundings and your interactions with the people that are out there. In resilient leadership, getting on the balcony means to observe the reactivity in ourselves and in others, and the reactivity in our whole system. And finally, in closing, remembering that anxiety is not necessarily a bad thing, it's just how you manage it, which is essential to becoming a resilient leader. Anything else? Good? Good? Nice job. Any questions for our team? I'll be happy to, for a fee, for any of the other groups, rent out our prop.
I'm gonna put my kids to work, so.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry, I'll have something.
Thank you.
So impressed by that iceberg, wow.
Whoever is the Group 2 board member and Group 2 cabinet member, you want to get together over the next month because your presentation will be at the second meeting of February.
Perfect.
Who is group 2? Not me, I'm group 3.
Group 2 is Mr. Bagatti.
Yeah.
Mr. Bagatti's group.
Who was with Mr. Bagatti?
Yeah.
Mr. Harris,
yeah.
okay, so you two will get together.
We don't need much more, but do you want us to start so that you can stop us?
Yeah.
Well, don't not express the importance of the matter either, though. But. So, this is the Cuyahoga Falls High School Program of Studies, Mrs. Julie Gudones and Ms. Allison Bogdan. And it's the first read of this, so we don't vote to approve first read items the first time they come up, but then at the next meeting, we would vote to approve it.
Thank you. President Gomez, Board of Education, thank you for having us here tonight to present the program of studies. It's been a while since I've been on the balcony of a dance club, Ellen, but that definitely brought me back. I've been there. Yes. So anyways, we just want to highlight what you have in front of you and go through any changes and additions and then field any questions that you might have for us as well. This is a long process. This is part of the process is to propose some of the changes or some of the additions and get feedback. We are still in draft form, obviously. So the first thing I wanted to start with was, where's that clicker? But we don't need it. There's the clicker. There you go. So out of our English Language Arts Department, page 29, they are proposing a new elective called Modern Literature. And that is, well, just that. They're going to take a look at modern literature, different novels, analyze it, and think critically about how they fit into their world through literature. So they're very excited to propose that one. The second one on your list is on page 40, Basic Machines, and that has grown out of our partnership with Stark State through the STEM P3 grant. We've worked for about 2 years now trying to get things started with some of our students and opportunities for them to dive further into manufacturing in particular. So this course is exciting because it is a CCP course, College Credit Plus course, and it would be open to 9th and 12th graders that obviously reach the requirements of it. But it will look at digital tools, production development through 3D, and be a very hands-on type of course. And we have a teacher that would be able to teach that at the high school, Randall Gregory, and we've already started that process if this course is approved and we have students interested. Page 47, Mathematical Modeling and Reasoning. That is in orange in your program of studies. And the reason that it's in orange is because we've applied through the state to be a part of the pilot program, and we have not found out yet whether or not we have been accepted to run this course. We're very interested in becoming one of those schools that pilot it. It is a course that you would take if you're not going to pursue a degree that would want you to have calculus. So it's a substitute for Algebra 2. It's very hands-on type of math, and do you want to add anything? I know you've been a lot through many of those meetings.
Yeah, it's exciting for us to be able to offer a pathway in place of Algebra 2, which is often a sticking point for many of our students. And, you know, if someone wants to be a psychologist, then they need to know how to do statistics and things like that, but they don't necessarily need to know how to do calculus. And so there's just that level, as Ms. Bogdan said, it's very hands-on, very student-friendly, and then it does help prepare students still if they want to go on to a more advanced math. They can take this and they will still be prepared at the end of the year for an advanced math. It's a full year course.
Moving on to our music department, we have a brand new choir teacher, Mr. Al Hadid, and he simply, if you look at pages 51 and 52, what he's trying to do is create music or choral courses so that everybody can participate. So you never feel like, oh, I can't really sing, I'm not going to try out for the choir, I'm not going to join the choir. So that's where that mixed choir comes in. It's open to all 9th through 12th grade students. All freshmen entering high school would be in mixed choir, and then the other choirs that you see within the program of studies are ones that you would audition for and be placed into. So that was part of the reasoning behind him making some changes within the program of studies. If you flip over to page 60, Honors Astronomy 2, astronomy has been growing at the high school for the past several years. I always say electives will grow if you have dynamic teachers, and Mr. Stasinski has done an amazing job growing that course. Students want to take it, they love to take it, they learn a lot. So this is just simply another layer. We currently have Astronomy 1 and 2, we have an Honors Astronomy 1, and now we're going to have an Honors Astronomy 2. It is run concurrently, so there could be, you could be an honors, or you can be an Astronomy 2 with an honors and regular gen ed type students. Social studies proposed 2 new classes. So on page 60, I need my readers, 6. They are proposing a class that we have termed Black Experience. I'm going to read directly from Program Studies. I don't want to insult you, but I think best can be described just by reading it. So in this course, you will explore the history of Black identities, experiences, and activism. A broad historical overview will be presented that will focus on African arrival in the Americas, slavery, Reconstruction, and Civil Rights Movement. Then it goes on to explain that they're going to consider how African American histories have helped shape conversations about civil rights, segregation, desegregation, equality, and justice. Another course that they are proposing, or that we are, is on page 69. And that's titled Introduction to Gender and Sexuality Studies. It's a semester elective, and in this course, students will explore the history of LGBTQ identities, experiences, and activism. The course will cover major historic and current events in the world as well as in the United States, with additional focus on local and state-level queer and transgender people and communities, and consider how LGBTQ histories have helped shape conversations about civil rights, equality, and justice. Within the social studies department, but really that has come out of our intervention specialists and special education department, is an elective on page 69, Introduction to Exceptionalities. And that is a year course. One of the things that the class will do is they'll form a local chapter of the Council for Exceptional Children. It's geared for students that are looking at careers in social work or social service type careers or education, and it's an introduction to students with exceptionalities. It would be taught by an IS, an intervention specialist. And then finally, wrong page, maybe, page 79. So on page 79 is our elementary and intermediate Spanish. It's a college credit plus course. It has previously been taught at the high school. One of our teachers during COVID that taught it, Mrs. Samuel, we took it off the books for a couple years just because of all the, best practices for teaching. She didn't feel that this was a proper time, but we're bringing it back this year. So that's not really a new course as much as a rebirth of an old course. Oh, sorry. Page 70, Urban Agricultural 2. That's just growing like astronomy. And what the Steves have done, Steve McIntosh and Steve Newland, we had Urban Agriculture 1. They have created another course, Urban Agriculture 2, for that student that wants to keep on exploring urban ag, so they can have 2 years of what I consider one of the most dynamic courses we have at the high school. And then Adaptive Industrial Arts is also just an amazing course. That's on page 71, and that's a half credit. It is for some of our students with some of the greatest challenges and needs, and our woodworking teacher, Mr. Geist, teaches it, and so there's an adaptive type curriculum within the woodworking program that he has created for our students.
Is that the first time that a class that's in the annex, so to speak, will be adaptive?
Yes,
That's awesome.
yes, in woodworking.
Awesome.
Are you, yeah,
Yes.
yes,
Yep. As far as I know.
yeah, now I'm finished. Julie.
Thank you. Again, thank you for having us here tonight. We do have some changes and highlights. As you go through your copy, and I'll also share the online version for those of you who like to do it online, but last year, we asked all of the departments to film a video introduction, and so right now they're going through those, and needless to say, that's a little bit lengthy process, because we have to use Mr. Fry or Mrs. Nicholson or someone to help us with that. So if it's highlighted in orange, don't bother looking at it right now. We will update that before your final approval so that you can see those. We have an FCS course that was split into two parts, textile and interior design, which is a level 1, a more general course, and then we added textile design, construction, and maintenance, which is a level 2 course that's more specific just to the textiles and fabrics, and not all about the interior design, which is more general. We changed the title of discrete math to mathematical excursions. That matches the title of our textbook, and we found that it's just a good name, where kids are just going on an adventure, if you like math. And looking at those different things, and that kind of aligns well with our mathematical reasoning course that we are hoping to teach. We removed all the fees from the program of studies. We are going to supply a more detailed, broken down list for approval to you in May to make sure that everything is in place and proper for that. We are considering a change from Naviance, which is our college and career readiness online program, to a program called School Links. We've narrowed it down to that, but we haven't quite made a decision. So we just took out any references to that, and it just says college and career readiness course, online software. And then courses that we are not offering, classic literature, independent study, and legal writing and rhetoric. We just didn't have students signing up for those courses, so we took them off as choices, so we didn't have to go back to just a few kids and say, sorry, we can't offer that, because then they get frustrated, as you would. We took out our applied algebra pathway, where we had applied algebra and then algebra 1 and A and 1B in separate years. We really love the concept of the course, and the teachers that are co-teaching it are doing it extremely well, but the way that students were being placed in there just was not fitting what we originally thought, and we want to make sure that all students have a tier 1 experience where they're all exposed to the same concepts, just with more hands-on, and the teachers that we have teaching it are great at that, and so they have committed to making it work within the year and providing extra intervention for anyone that needs it, not just students identified with disabilities, but anybody that needs that extra help. And then Ms. Bogdan already mentioned the changes in the choir, so we took out the tenor bass choir, and then we took out the class called functional technology, because that woodworking, that adaptive woodworking, is really more appropriate for what those students are doing. That the technology class was back before we had one-on-one Chromebooks and that sort of thing, where students were learning how to use those things every single day. So those are the basic things we have, unless you have questions, or I don't know if you have to wait for questions for your presentations.
Does anyone have any questions?
I have a comment,
Yeah,
actually.
Mr. Harris.
I just want to say, as a biracial kid growing up in a mostly white school district, I love seeing the black experience added. That perspective was missing from my history classes growing up. I didn't get that until I got to college, so I think that's fantastic. So.
Thank you. And speaking to our social studies department chair, Mr. Petratus, we did have the discussion about bringing in speakers and things like that, because we don't currently have, we currently only have mostly white, with one exception of teachers at the high school. Right. And so we want to make sure that we're having a true representation of understanding of feelings and so on and so forth.
Thank you.
Anything further? So I know it's probably, for our new folks, it's a lot of information to get 81 pages put down in front of you. You have time to read it. We're not voting tonight. We'll vote at the next meeting. And who should, if they have specific questions,
If they wouldn't mind sending them to Dr. Cruz and copying Ms. Bogdan and myself, that would be great. That way we all get a chance to see it and talk about any questions you have. And then we'll get those made so that you can do one more glance over.
my own comment is every year you add new classes that I wish we had when I was a student, because I'm always like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. I think you all both do a wonderful job with this every year, and I'm always excited to hear what you come up with.
Thank you. There was one other change that I marked on most of the pages, the program study highlight pages, where the honors choir is not, we realized last minute after we printed all these and we weren't going to reprint. but we need to make some changes just because of those class changes. And then those of you who haven't looked through this before online, there are lots of links that are live links, so, thank you.
Those videos are really worth watching. It gives you a good idea of what each department is like. So if you're looking for, if it's a different way for you to process information, it gives you a really good idea of what those departments do.
Awesome.
Okay, so next up is superintendent search presentations. As you know, we have 3 firms that are presenting to us tonight, and the first up is OSBA with Cheryl Ryan, and we'll give Mr. Hutch a few moments to get everything set up. Okay. Hi Cheryl, sorry for our delay. We were doing our high school program of studies and we got excited. So we are here now. All of our board members have a copy of your proposal in front of them, and we will turn the floor over to you.
All right, is it okay if I share my screen?
Yes.
Do that. All right. So it's my pleasure to be with you tonight. Thank you for having me. And I know I have a very brief amount of time, so I'm going to speak quickly. I hope that you can maybe jot a note if you have a question, and I'm happy to answer any questions from the time we have remaining. But it's my pleasure to be with you here today, so President Gomez and fellow board members, thank you for having us. So I wanted to just say that we have a strong belief about a successful search, and that it begins with a really good communication process between the board, the search facilitator, and the community, frankly. And it ends with a solid long-term relationship between the board and the senior leadership team. We really hope that your next superintendent will serve you as long or longer than did your former superintendent. Our search is definitely board-centered, community-focused. Uses things such as your portrait of a graduate, your strategic plan. We work on behalf of the board, but for the district, its administrators, staff, and families. And we work very hard to develop a profile or a leadership fit that then we translate as we recruit candidates for the position, so that at the time that we come to you with your candidates and for screening, we sincerely believe and hope that there will be candidates you will believe meet the profile that you have built with your search facilitator. We do understand the board's need for a customized process. Although the OSBA search process follows a model, each timeline is unique and fits the needs of the district, the board, and the school community. We do guide you every step of the way, but key decisions belong to the board. That is a strong belief of OSBA, that we believe that you, the board, know your district better than anybody, and that with our guidance, you will make all the right decisions. We do also believe that the board sees and reviews all candidates. We don't eliminate any candidates from the pool. We provide feedback based on your fit profile that we've developed together, but final decisions do belong to the board. What sets us apart? Customized attention. We have done search at OSBA for more than 45 years. Every search gets very much customized attention with one search facilitator assigned to your search, as well as support staff. We have national reach, complete interview support. We provide a leadership development workshop, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about Rebellious and Achiever. There are about 85 searchers across the country that belong to the NAS, which is the National Affiliation of Superintendent Searchers. This allows us to recruit nationally and also to post your position in Cuyahoga Falls nationally at the touch of a button. It doesn't cost your district any additional funds, and we're able to post your recruitment brochure at each of those state association websites. There are 35 state associations nationwide who have NAS searchers in our network. The Achiever is also exclusive to OSBA in Ohio. It is a leadership to evaluate their candidates. It's totally proprietary. It's similar to an Indeed.com or a Monster.com, and is now used by 15 other state associations across the country. But it does provide applicants and board members secure portals for personal profile development. It gives each board member a comprehensive insight into each candidate and a private area for your personal notes as you're evaluating candidates individually before we come together to screen candidates at the time that you'll select candidates for interview. We believe that community and staff involvement is a really important part of the process, and our search provides opportunities for input from all aspects of your district, including administrators, teachers, parents, and even students in some cases, if that's the board's wish. We believe it's an important part of the search. We offer one day of focus groups during recruitment, including an evening community group. There are several different models for community members to meet finalists during the interview period, and our search includes a leadership team development workshop after the board makes an appointment. So here's our step-by-step OSBA process in a nutshell. It starts with leadership profile development, includes aggressive local and state nationwide recruitment. OSBA profiles and pools stack up against any other outside agency. We provide a professional and objective screening, but then a board-centered candidate evaluation, as I mentioned, that leads to appointment. The process starts with a planning meeting with the Board of Education. We draft a customized brochure for you, which is shared online with all of our NAS groups across the country, as well as with educational associations such as BASA and OASBO. The brochure is written by OSBA, but it is proofed, edited, and finalized by you, the board. We use pictures and a logo provided by the district. And in about 30 or 40% of our searches, we do still do a mailing. That is certainly up to the board. Many of our searches now use strictly online and digital marketing. The focus groups in district I mentioned is a full day and an evening. We would talk at our planning meeting about which stakeholder groups in your district you would want us to work with. And I, as your facilitator, would be in Cuyahoga Falls all day long and into the evening. It includes recruitment and marketing activities, and we have a closing date for applications. That timeline depends upon your specification, but in general, it's usually between 5 to 6 weeks after the official posting date. We do an internal screening. All of the search facilitators at OSBA review your applications based on your profile, and we score them and bring those scores to you for your review, but you are under no obligation to use those scores as you choose your candidates for interview. The Revella screening portal opens to the board shortly after the application period closes. Then the facilitator comes to your district to meet personally with the board to discuss the candidates. You'll choose those who you want to interview in a first round interview, and the interview process begins. The OSBA facilitator arranges all the logistics and works with the district to monitor and process all interviews. Once the first round interviews are completed, finalists are selected. For the second round, reference checking begins. Finalists are asked to take the achiever. The second round interviews roll out, sometimes including community members and others the board selects to meet with finalists in addition to themselves. The Board of Education then deliberates, offers a contract, and OSBA can help in that negotiation, although normally boards when it's scheduled after the new superintendent takes his or her position in the district. We do offer a guarantee, and that is in a rare case. I believe it's happened once or maybe twice in my 15 years as a search consultant at OSBA that a board was not able to reach contract agreement with their selected candidate. The search is repeated for the district at no cost. And with that, I would thank you for your time and ask if there are any questions I can answer.
Board members? I'll start. I have a question. I think you know that the way that you do reference checking through your process is a little bit different than most other processes. Can you talk about the reference checking portion?
Sure. Once the board has finalists in our process, I would provide between 10 and 12 reference names, contact names, for individuals for whom the finalist would certainly have had a working relationship. For example, if one of your candidates is an assistant superintendent, it would certainly be his or her superintendent, his or her principals. Maybe a resource officer, maybe a curriculum director, etc. And we then assign those references among the 5 board members for calls. We believe that you making calls to 1 or 2 or 3 references for each of your finalists allows all 5 of you to get a picture once you come back together of those references and of that candidate. We also believe that you making those calls and hearing those voices and having those conversations on the telephone gives you a context that you wouldn't have if the facilitator did those calls and just gave you a digital or a written printout of the content. We do try and provide contacts, some of whom may not be provided by the candidate to us in their application packet. And we let candidates know and we let references know that they may or may not have been names provided to us by the candidate, but we believe this is an important position and therefore we want you to be able to reach out to people that are included on the candidates list, but also that may not be included on the candidates list.
Board members, any additional questions? We do have one unrelated to this topic question for you. 2 of our board members would like to attend the 101 that you are hosting this weekend, and we're wondering if there's any way that we could still get them registered. Since you're the director of your department, we thought we'd ask you when you were here.
I'm actually going to be at that one in
Yes.
the Cleveland area this weekend. Yes, Shannon Camerucci is our events manager, and I'd be happy to let her know that 2 new board members from Cuyahoga Falls will be contacting her tomorrow. How is that?
Thank you, Cheryl. We appreciate that, and we will see you next week for our workshop with you as well.
I'm looking forward to it, and I appreciate your time this evening, and I wish you all the best with your search. I know that OSBA can provide a fabulous search service for you, but wish you the best in any direction that you go.
Thank you, Cheryl. I appreciate it, and I'll see you this weekend.
All right, take care, everybody.
So the next up, board members, as we're following along, will be Ray and Associates, and they'll also be presenting via Zoom as well. So we'll let Mr. Hutch get that set up. Good evening. We're sorry that we're running a little bit behind, but we are ready for you, Mr. Collins, to start your presentation to the board.
I want to thank you very much. I'm Mike Collins. I had the privilege in every capital period serving as president of Ray Associates. be all. I am one of you, just former or emeritus, however. I spent 2 terms on the Westerville School Board, and I spent 2 terms as an elected member of the State Board of Education, representation of one term Southeastern Ohio and 1 term Central Ohio. So I am well aware of what you're undertaking. I actually did 5 searches as a board member, 2 as a city school board member, and 3 as a state board member. And was able actually to hire one of the most outstanding superintendents Ohio has ever had, and went on to become the superintendent of Columbus, and turn the district around. But this isn't about me. This is only about you and what you're about. I am very familiar and spend a fair amount of time up in northeastern Ohio, both from family and close friends that live that way, and also I'm the one that actually did the searches for both Shaker Heights and Cleveland University Heights personally. I am in my 7th year at Ray Associates. I spent 5 years as their regional director for Ohio, Pittsburgh, or Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, and then the last 19 months as president. So let's turn our attention to you, a little bit about who we are, but most importantly to your questions and our conversation. I grew up in upstate New York and didn't come out to Ohio until I went to college at Miami, Ohio. So I'm going to put on my New York hat because we don't have a lot of time, and I'm going to give you a very, surface overview of what we do and how we do it. Because most importantly, it's about our conversation and our connection. But before we start, I really want to, congratulate you all on, the focus groups you've come up with out of your strategic plan. This whole notion of student success, culture of caring, the whole black tiger environment, and then particularly resource leveraging. And it obviously states your commitment to engagement with the community, which is a pillar of ours that I'll talk to you in a minute. Is somebody there to advance the slides? Because we were told somebody would advance the slides.
Yes. Give us a brief moment.
So the reference check is checking certainly those that individuals have specified are of interest to them as their advocates. However, after 55 years of experience between the four of us, we're like the insurance commercial. We know a lot because we've seen a lot. There isn't a candidate that we can't track by one of us knowing someone that worked in that district, someone that lives in that district, someone that has their children in that district. I don't care if that district's 80 miles away. We'll find it. We always have. And if we don't find it, we're calling and calling and calling and calling. Obviously, by today's standards, Google searches and such as any search firm would do to make sure we are bringing a person of authenticity and ethics to you to the best of our ability. So, we narrow down and narrow down and narrow down based on the criteria that you have given us. We make sure the references are as good as can be, and then we come back to you with those finalists as such, semifinalists, and you have the opportunity certainly to participate hands-on in the selection of your next superintendent. We do the work for you. We bring a pool of interview questions to you, a bank of questions that we have written over the years. We will write new questions for you based on your criteria as well, because there are things that are important to you that may not be important to other districts who are conducting searches or who have conducted searches. So those questions are selected for you for your first round and any other succeeding rounds, whether you choose to narrow 12 people down to 6 people, down to 4 people, down to 2 people, however you wish that process to go. We can move really quite quickly depending upon your priorities once again. Some boards like to spend a little bit more time on it because it's an extremely important decision. Obviously, the individual, we hope, will have a long, successful life with you, so you want to spend due diligence to satisfy the needs for the students, obviously the expectations of the community, and for yourselves and for the staff and administration with who they will work. So that's how the process goes. Also, we continue after your superintendent is selected and appointed. We're around the corner. We could walk there, right? So we're never in front, more than a stone's throw away. We pride ourselves on building relationships that are long-standing relationships. We don't enter a room hardly ever without one of us recognizing and knowing people that we are working with and have worked with over the years because, again, 55 years in Northeast Ohio as superintendents, we know a few people. So we have a Lifting Leaders program that we have about 15 superintendents to be in that group that come once a month for training with us. We also have aspiring treasurers. We have aspiring principals. Just about any group that is growing from where they are to what they wish to be to serve children, we have. So we continue the relationship. The superintendent, Justice Superintendent Chavity, has been with us at the ESC for many, many years in our superintendent's meetings and all the functions that we have for superintendents together to keep each other skillful and to keep each other encouraged so that we continue to have the heart, the beating heart for our children in your community and for education. What can we answer for you?
Board members, question? I'll ask the question. I'm the question asker, I guess. So
Go for it, Anthony.
I know that you would do this if we asked of it. So in past searches, have you done community forums with finalists? And can you give me a little bit of what does that look like? How does that go?
Sure. One of our most recent searches was this summer in
Does bringing in the outside stakeholders, community, does that usually extend the timetable? Well, I mean, will that 8 weeks?
It does extend the timetable, which is the reason we like to get the posting up even before we do the profiling.
Gotcha.
The profiling is really, in my mind, for the candidate to look at and say, do I think I'm a fit for Cuyahoga Falls City Schools? Let me give you an example. Let's say you, as a group, decide you want somebody who's got a great deal of experience in the area of curriculum instruction, because that's important right now in Cuyahoga Falls. Should be important in every district. But a person who's maybe spent their career as a business manager maybe will look at it and say, I don't know if that's exactly the right fit for this. There's a little bit of space between this. Those are the kind of things that we use that advanced profiling for. So it does extend the process, but to shorten the process, that's why we put it out first. Maybe it knocks a week, outside possibility of 2 weeks off. I would encourage you, whichever firm you go with, don't draw it out too long. Those openings
Right.
are starting to hit. They're moving. Springfield was posted today. Okay? We are aware that there are people very interested in Cuyahoga Falls from the preliminary search that we did.
Thank you.
I'd just like to add to what Joe said too. I think one of the advantages we provide you is folks that have to come a long way, the cost is built in, and we try to do it all in one day. So to try to keep that timeline short.
Right.
You know, as Tina said, and Joe said, we work right down the street. So if one of us shoots over and does a 2-hour focus group, it's not a big deal for us. Whereas, you know, you're gonna find people coming, adding travel time in a long distance. They're gonna wanna try to do one in a whole day. Rightfully so, I understand why they would wanna do that, because they wanna keep that time frame tight as well. But we have that flexibility where we can do some early focus work where one of us comes, facilitates, we can classify. And Tina and I did it at Waterloo, where on Monday, I shot out to Waterloo and did classified, and Tina the next day did certified. And so we have that ability to come and do, you know, these 2-hour, 1 hour, hour and a half focuses. So I think that's another advantage we would provide, to keep your timeline tight.
Right. Awesome. Thank you.
Anything else?
Can I make one last comment? Jeff already alluded to the fact, as the team, that we're right down the street. For those of you that are newer board members, or anyone in the audience who might not know what's downtown, in addition to living and working right here in Cuyahoga Falls, well, I live in Stafford. But I did spend 5 years working here as a principal in Cuyahoga Falls. I think most of you know the team was assistant superintendent here for a number of years in Cuyahoga Falls, with Jeff living here. We're not just saying we care about Cuyahoga Falls, we're just speaking to say it's true that we do. It was really 5 of the best years of my career here, and I care very much about this district and to these folks. And we're going to do our very, very best to make sure we get the right person in the person pool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll close out the presentation portion, and then just process-wise, we're gonna go through our regular treasurer and superintendent's business, get that handled, and then we'll come back to making a decision of your board business tonight. So you can keep all those thoughts circulating in the back file of your brain as we move ahead with item E, treasurer CFO's business, consent agenda, Ms. Christie Stoikoi.
Thank you. I'd like to recommend the Board of Education approve all items listed in the treasurer's consent agenda. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I have just a couple of quick things to note. The appropriations, there are very small changes in regards to the appropriations. We received some mid-year, like, reallocation kind of true-ups on our federal grants, so some of those changed just slightly, some very slightly. We also received in addition to some of our other ESSER funds, a small amount for homeless students in ESSER funds. So those are the changes there. Donations, I just always like to point out, we thank everyone that donates. Tiger Backers did $100 to the dance team. We had some donor shoes. and Lambert Buick GMC, $200 to Richardson for student books.
Any questions or comments for Ms. Dorsey? Please call the roll.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Aye.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Ms. Coco?
Aye.
Mr. Gomez?
Aye. Item F, Treasurer CFO's business, Ms. Christie Stoypoy.
I'd like to recommend the Board of Education approve the December 2021 investment schedule and monthly spending report.
So moved. Second.
Ms. Stoypoy.
Okay. You have to bear with me on this one a little bit too, because we're trying to close out the calendar year in this new program, so it was a little bit crazy. Let's look overall at the interest. Okay, there it is. Up, like the fourth one down, yeah. So this was actually a pretty good month, especially in some of our construction funds. And I'll point those ones out. So our LFI portion, we received almost $14,000 in interest, and on that local share that is going to go in conjunction with the money that OFCC puts in, we received a little bit over $21,000. So that's a good sign. Don't know if it'll stay that way, but that was nice to see at the beginning of January when I got those statements. Let's start with the general fund monthly cash flow. And I'll kind of go through. So typically, our November, December, January, even some February, not typically February, but those 3 months are more of our lower month revenues, as are kind of like May and June. And it's mostly because we receive such a large amount of our funding is through real estate taxes, and those come out twice a year. So they start in July for that half, and they usually give us our last amount by September. And then for the first half of the year, they'll start giving us some advancements end of January, beginning of February, and they've usually paid them all to us by March. So that's the reason for the decrease in some of these months. As you can see, like July was exceptionally high. We had large advance amounts from the county. We're just not receiving any real estate tax income right now in these months, and we don't typically. As you can see, it's pretty in line with years past there. Same thing with expenditures. Our expenditures are a little more steady as far as staying along the same each month. Majority of this is payroll, so that's part of it. Very similar to the last few fiscal years. Obviously a negative result of operations, but we're still at a little under 17 million, which is about 4 million better than we were last year and about 10 million better than we were in 2020. So still on track there. Food service. Food service is now on the opposite end of the problem they had last year. They are receiving large amounts, of course, because of this free and reduced lunch that is being paid for by the government. So we received $238,000 in December this year. Expenses of $131,000, net results of over $100,000. So now they're sitting, I think, way better than almost. I think that's the second highest balance of any of the months listed on there. So they're at like almost $311,000. So no issues there, and I don't foresee any in the future. Athletics is similar, although not as lucrative. They're not they don't have any reimbursement for tickets or anything like that, like the food service does. So again, these are not huge high ticket months. Football is our bigger ticket sale there, so you'll always see the majority of it there. This is on track with years past, at least last year in a similar COVID year. Same thing with expenses, very similar. But they're in a very good position, better than they've been in the last couple years as far as cash balance goes. They're at about 135,000 to end December. And there's really not activity in any of the construction funds at this moment, other than the interest and that. So I'm not going to open each one of those up. It's very little. We can look at the all funds, which includes some of them, but not all of them. Well, I had to pull out some of them when we added all these funds, because it was getting to be too confusing to separate them. So overall, so all funds is like, it includes our food service, our athletics, our general fund, our 018s, which is our principal accounts, our federal grants, our state grants. So basically everything you saw on that appropriation list is part of all funds, with the exception of two of the construction funds. So the 010 fund and the 004 is not included in this. Bond retirement is included in this. So again, lower month in December, that's typical. Expenditures right in line. You can see in November, that was when we made the large payment out of the debt bond retirement fund on principal and interest for the bond. So we are sitting now at about a little under 24 million overall, and that excludes our construction, the bond money that we have, basically, that's in the 004 and the 010. And I think that takes care of that.
Any questions or comments for Ms. Joyfully? I do have one question. We got good news about the lunch reimbursement, that it's going up
Yeah.
a quarter per lunch. When was that starting? Have we seen?
I have not seen it,
increases,
so we're I'm not sure exactly when it becomes effective. And so what happens is, so for instance, like January, we'll go through the month of January. At the end of January, Chef Bill will submit the reports of the number of lunches we served, and then sometime mid the next month, we'll get that reimbursement. So, Joe, do you know what day?
I don't believe that has started yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing an effective date in particular, just that it was gonna go up, so.
I was thinking February.
Okay, I don't remember off
Thank
the
you
top
for
of my
that.
head.
Anything else? Why don't you please call the roll?
Ms. Schaefer?
Aye.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Ms. Coco? Aye. Mr. Gomez?
Aye.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
And then your comments, Ms. Whitman.
Just real briefly, we have wrapped up the audit for the fiscal '21, which, we were all on the Zoom call yesterday. Everything was good, clean. They were in and out, which is great. That's my favorite part of now being with the group, is that they're in there a couple days and that's it. So all is well there, so that's good. The second thing is, we have received now under the new formula funding. I just don't have much to say about it because there's a lot to unpack. ODE is still unpacking it, to be honest. They're wanting us to go and make sure that it's all coming out the way we said. They will eventually be providing some backup. Here's how we calculated it. They're not at that point yet. So they're getting us the money on the new formula. They're just not quite at the point where we can dive into it and say, okay, yes, does this match what we have? Does this match, the student counts and all of that stuff? So it is a lot to unpack. I've been to some different webinars. I have some other ones that are coming up next week. So hopefully they'll start rolling that stuff out, and we'll be able to. There's still some little things that I know they're going to tweak. Based on, how it looked when they put it in there and how it what the actual results were to the district. So once I have a better handle, which will probably be by the 5-year forecast, hopefully, I'll be able to provide some more detailed information regarding that. And that's it.
So that would be May for our new
Yeah.
members.
Yes.
That'll be the next time we talk about the 5-year forecast. So
Yes.
that'll be May.
Yep.
Oh, thank you.
Mhm.
We'll go on to item G, Superintendent CEO's business, consent agenda. Mr. Shabady.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve all items listed in the superintendent's business consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? I wanted to highlight our contract for services with DGL Consulting Engineers, which is going to be a traffic study at all 9 of our school buildings, and they're going to evaluate traffic flow and give us recommendations on, is there a way that we can do it better? We know that our buildings were built in a time when people lived a lot closer, walked to school every day, self-included, back in the 90s. That's not our case anymore, and so we welcome their feedback. We look forward to that. Thank you, Mr. Bugatti, for bringing that forward. Anything else? Call the roll, please.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Ms. Coco? Aye. Mr. Gomez?
Aye.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Aye.
On to item H, Superintendent CEO's business, Mr. Shabady.
I would just like to present to you for the first reading, the proposed calendar for 22-23. I'd like to thank Mrs. McClure and Dr. Cruz for their work and putting the calendar together along with the Teachers Union. And we will have the final copy for you to vote on at the next meeting. Second meeting.
So we're gonna discuss it at our next meeting is the plan, and then you can't vote for 30 days due to state law, so then we would vote at the second meeting in February. So you have that tonight. You can reach out if you have specific questions or concerns you wanna raise, reach out to Mrs. McClure about those in the meantime.
Next, it is recommended the Board of Education adopt the attached proclamation declaring February 2022 as National Career and Technical Education Month.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Coco?
Aye.
Mr. Gomez?
Aye.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Aye.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Item 3, your comments, Mr. Shabady.
As all of you know, it's very difficult to make the decision to close school, but I think based on all the other schools were out yesterday, that was a good call. It really was touch and go today. There are still many sidewalks that have not been shoveled, and we implore people to do that. I would be remiss if I didn't recognize Mr. Bugatti, the custodians, and the maintenance department for the extraordinary efforts yesterday. I can tell you the sidewalks and openings around the schools were all done, and that was a lot of work, so we appreciate that in helping us to get those schools open today. So, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. We will move on to item I, board business. Number 1, voucher joinder resolution. And I will read the resolution and then we'll have a motion. Resolution opposing the State of Ohio Ed Choice Voucher Program. Whereas Ed Choice vouchers are funded by the state from designated appropriation line items 200-550, 200-604, 200-612, and payment to private schools diminishes the amount of funding and levels of education opportunities in districts. And whereas the deduction of school voucher funds from the school district further reduces the funding available to support the additional needs of district minority pupils, pupils in poverty, and pupils with disabilities. And whereas the deduction of school voucher funds from school districts increases reliance on local tax revenue to maintain school operations in violation of the Ohio Constitution and clear directives of the Ohio Supreme Court. Section 1. Now therefore the Board of Education finds and determines that the deduction of school voucher funds from school districts is harmful to the district, its pupils, taxpayers, voters, and staff. Section 2. The Board of Education authorizes and directs the school district's joinder of the Ohio Coalition for Equity and Adequacy of School Funding and directs the district's treasurer to pay coalition dues as set forth in Section 3. Section 3. Coalition dues for the 2021-2022 school year are the sum of $2 per district pupil enrollment listed on most recent report card. Dues shall be allocated by the coalition as follows. 50 cents per pupil shall be allocated to the payment of coalition operating expenses, and to $1.50 per pupil shall be allocated to the support of the coalition's efforts in opposition to the deduction of school voucher funds from this and other school districts. Coalition dues are payable upon passage of this resolution. Is there a motion?
Oh, so moved.
Second.
Discussion? Ms. Joycoy, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Gomez?
Aye.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Abstain.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Ms. Coco?
Aye.
Item 2, membership Ohio Coalition for Equity and Adequacy of School Funding. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve membership into the Ohio Coalition for Equity and Adequacy of School Funding for the 2021-2022 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Ms. Schaefer?
Oh, abstain. Sorry.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Ms. Coco?
Aye.
Mr. Gomez?
Aye. Okay. That takes us to item 3, superintendent search firm. Just to explain the procedural process, I will read this motion with the blank. We'll take a motion and second on it with the blank, and then we open it up for board members to suggest firms that they'd like to hire. Each board member can suggest one firm, and then we will have discussion, and then at the close of our discussion, Ms. Joycoy will pull the board in order in which they recommended. The first firm to receive a majority vote of the board will be the firm that we hire. So it is recommended that the Board of Education hire blank as the firm to conduct a superintendent search and authorize the board president and treasurer to enter into a contract with the same.
So moved.
No, second.
Okay, so I'll open the floor to suggestions of search firms. Gotta hire somebody, so hopefully
Yes.
somebody suggests somebody.
I would like to recommend the ESC.
They did knock that treasurer search out of the park, so.
I felt the interim superintendent was an excellent.
Do we have further suggestions? Hearing none, we'll still open to discussion so that we can talk about why we feel the way we do about this.
guess
So
we do.
open the floor to discussion.
Personally, living in this community and having students in this district, I think that it's very important. The community engagement piece is huge for our district, and having already built a relationship with them and having good experiences with a certain treasurer and other people in this room. I think that we already have a level of trust built, and the community will be receptive to that as well.
I agree with Ms. Coco. I love that it's, they are local, their history with this district, it just makes the most sense, so.
Ms. White?
I feel the same way.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Yeah, same thing. They're local. They know what's important to us locally within our community, and they have experience with the district, so shop local.
I'll just give a shout out to OSBA in particular because Cheryl Ryan is a phenomenal person, which is why we're going to a workshop she's hosting, and then having her come and host a workshop as well. She's a phenomenal person and great at what she does, but I do too agree that the ESC brought us two phenomenal people sitting down here at the end of the table, and if we can get someone of their shared caliber as our next superintendent, we will be in good shape going forward. So if you would please call the roll on Summit ESC.
Ms. Schaefer?
Aye.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Ms. Coco?
Aye.
Mr. Gomez?
Aye.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
And I will reach out to Joe. He will respond to my email whatever time we leave tonight. He will respond to my email tonight, I can assure you. So I'll reach out to him and we'll get that started and be in touch with all of you and all of the community as well for opportunities to provide us feedback on the process. Item 4 is emergency levy plan ideas. This is to give new members of the board a chance to suggest ideas as our administration continues to work to refine that plan before November. Any emergency levy plan ideas you'd like to bring forward? This is the time to have any idea you want, because we're going to go through refinement, so we're at the top of the funnel now. Just throw it out there. That's okay. If you come up with things along the way, certainly add in. I know administration, it's on their agenda of things that they're working on. It's finessing this plan so that we can go out to our community before the November election with a thoughtful plan that will meet the needs of our students. Item 5, District Wellness Day. Ms. White brought this topic up, so I will yield to her.
Okay, well, the reason I did was I've heard what the teachers, they asked for the day, and I don't think that we're able to do that with our calendar and policies in place. But my thought was to take a professional development day for our staff, including our administrators and secretaries and so on, everybody involved, and do a PD day that is massage therapy, yoga, deep breathing, even for those that like to cook healthy recipes that they could have for stress, managing stress, like group therapy sessions, you know, Roma, music therapy. I even put kickboxing because I'm kind of interested. You know, I would be very, you can see it now, but I know, or I break my other knee or whatever. But at any rate, just things where you can relieve, you know, and learn how to cope with the stress that they have been under for what, 2.5 years. I just think it's a way to give back to our staff for doing everything they have done and gone through. And I wish we could do it for our students too. I don't know how we do that, but at least for our staff to recognize their strength, their resilience, and their hard work for us. Instead of just saying it, let's try to do something. So those were my thoughts.
Board members, additional thoughts?
So the wellness day would be used like on a PD day. Okay. I would suggest maybe, can you poll them and ask like what things they would like to see?
Absolutely. I
Okay.
think that Amy or Ryan could set up he's going to kill me now. But set up, you know, something where they could say, yeah, I'd like this or that, or, you know, whatever they would like, and then we can work on. I know that we do have the hopes and the wellness and success, and maybe we can pull from them as well, is what I was thinking. And I can reach out to Cleveland Clinic has certain things that they do. I don't know if they do it for free. I'd have to check on that, but I'd be willing to contact a lady I know there to see what they would do or could do. Just things like that that, you know, might help relieve some of the stress and the tension instead of asking them to do additional reading or, you know, I don't know, just give them back something.
So we have 2 professional development days on the calendar before the end of this school year. One is in February and one is in May, correct, Dr. Krustek? Okay, so knowing that, and you're working with your proposal of using a professional development day, where are you at?
Well, I'm thinking February would be too quick. I think it's already been planned pretty much. So it'd probably be May, I would think, would work best, so it would give us time to poll the teachers and a plan for that day for them.
Administration, thoughts you want to share, Dr. Cruz?
I do have some thoughts. I certainly think it's really important to show our appreciation to our staff. And I think that we can certainly work together to find some ways that appreciation can be felt and do that in a way that I'm not sure about the kickboxing myself, but
I'll do that on my own. Don't worry.
but perhaps we certainly can find ways to bring some appreciation and I had a chance, Ms. White, to talk. We talked a little bit, and I followed up on our conversation with Ms. Coco. We talked a little about just some ways that we can investigate sharing some appreciation with them, even in small ways, even as soon as our next February day. So, been in touch with some of our teaching staff and union associations, and have already started some of this investigation about what are some things that would help them. And honestly, some of it comes back to providing them with some professional learning around how to manage some of the needs of our students, and how to have some adult coping skills as well, but looking at just finding some opportunities for a little bit of fun in our day on those professional development days. What I heard mostly, though, was this idea of respecting their professionalism. And our professional development day that we structured in November was very well received. We provided them with options. We provided them time to collaborate and work together. So we're planning to continue that for the next professional development day, and perhaps some of those options and sessions could include some of those that you mentioned tonight. So I think it's great to consider their well-being. I also think it's important to think systemically about what are the things that we do on a regular basis that promote their well-being, that one day wouldn't pretend to cover all that they've been through. So we'll continue to dig into that, and it's great to have your support for this.
Thank you.
I did have an opportunity when I was at central office just to pop in and ask Peggy Whitcomb and Holly Merkel for some just initial feedback, and they both felt that if the board chooses to go in this direction, that they would be willing to support that and look into things. Peggy said, with the wellness fund she has, as some of our newer people might know, Peggy coordinates our staff wellness piece, and she has grant money for that. She said we could potentially use some of that for this day if this is something we choose to do. And then talking with Holly Merkel on more the professional cognitive side of these issues, she knows of some districts that have tried to do some things, so she could partner with Red Oak to maybe talk about some of the things that students are experiencing, which then, of course, our staff are experiencing every day as they spend every day with those students, and how to handle those, and some of those behavior management pieces that our staff has been asking for as long as I've been on the board. Anytime we ask for feedback, that's one of the things we hear from them. They'd like more help in behavior management pieces. But I want to thank Ms. White, because this is one of these things where, and it's board work, where competing priorities. We want to care about our staff, and we want to do things to show them, but we also want to educate our kids and don't want to take time away from the classroom. And so I want to appreciate the effort Ms. White put into trying to find a way to allow these competing priorities to try to come together. So I really do sincerely appreciate that. Others?
I would just like to echo how important I think it is for us to find ways to incorporate on a daily basis ways for our staff to manage their wellness
personally commit to going all in. I know a few local businesses that I have friendships with that could help us. You know, I think Ms. White's idea is about giving them lots of opportunities of different things because different people like and dislike certain things. Some people don't want a massage ever, and you know, some people want different things. So we don't want it to be like everybody has to get a massage.
right.
This is the coping mechanism.
No,
You
right,
know,
right.
we want to offer a lot of opportunities for different types of things that could be beneficial to them. Big things like booking a massage, little things that maybe they could work into their day. So that thoughtfulness.
Exactly.
I would, if this is a direction we choose to go as a board, I will commit to investing time and energy into trying to make that happen as well. And I think you all would, because I do as well.
Yeah, we would. I just remember one time during parent-teacher conferences, DECA actually had masseuses in the building for us, you know, in between where we could go down and get a massage, a shoulder. You know, nothing drastic, but just 10-minute shoulder. I mean, that was just some, even little things during those times would be great to do. So, anyway.
So we do have one community member that would like to speak on this topic. So I'll invite Kate Adams forward. If you come to the podium, state your name and address and 3 minutes to speak on the topic. And pass this to Christy.
My name is Kate Adams, address 1222 High Bridge Road, Cuyahoga Falls. My husband and I love Cuyahoga Falls. We actually both grew up going to private schools. However, we have chosen a different path for our kids, Wesley and Penny. Our reasoning, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Our overall experience with Cuyahoga Falls City School District has been exemplary, truly. There are the usual bumps in the road, but that's life, and I'm well aware that those bumps will be in any school, public or private. And as of right now, we are most definitely content to only deal with the bumps here in Cuyahoga Falls. Speaking of bumps, don't worry, I'm not here to talk about masks. I'm obviously in the minority this evening. I forgot to wear my camo and bring my flag and my poster board. But please know that I have complied with the district's masking requirement when I or my kids are in a district building. I'm an eldest child and a natural rule follower, so that's where I'm coming from on that. What I want to speak about tonight is the idea of a last-minute district wellness day. Please know that I adore the teachers, staff, and admins employed by the district, and I am so grateful for the amazing staff and teachers who have taken the time to actively invest in my kids. I'll be honest, I even enjoy bragging to my parents who are horrified at the idea of public education. What amazing teachers and experiences my kids have had here in my beloved Cuyahoga Falls. And not just teachers, but maintenance, lunch ladies, school secretaries, crossing guards, PTO moms, everybody. That aside, I implore you to not institute this very last minute and quite frankly, emotionally charged change to the set school calendar. I wish you had a clock, by the way, up there. That would be helpful. I know you can't say anything, but our district has 4,000 students, approximately 500 staff persons. Please allow me to guesstimate. I have a degree in statistics, so I'm a professional guesstimator, that there are 2,600 households represented in the district. If half of those households are one-parent homes, that's a whole other subject, that estimate still accounts for 3,900 parents, and how many of those 3,900 parents work? I won't continue guesstimating, but consider those numbers as I respectfully ask the board to consider not pursuing that day, besides what was yesterday. I work full-time, and while I commiserate and understand that our teachers and staff are so weary, please understand that everyone is. And a last-minute day off might please 500 staff members, but keep in mind that it is an actual hardship, for some just an inconvenience, my household an actual hardship, if that would happen, and that sort of decision affects thousands of parents. I haven't fact-checked this, but my guess is that most of the 500-plus employees still get paid if we have this day. I would not get paid if I do not go to work. let's see, and I'm going to close with, please don't go forward with this plan. If you do decide to proceed and make this happen, please think of all the parents that day, myself included, who've had to call off work to accommodate this fanciful whim. My husband recommended that I close with a snarky comment about having the board cover education and childcare that day, but instead, because that's obviously, I'll leave you with the respectful request to not change this year's school calendar. And I added, after Ms. White spoke, I'd be more than happy to work with Ms. White and prepare a wellness day on a Saturday or an early release Friday for the teachers.
Thank you. I hope, as you heard us talking about you here, so that May Professional Development Day is already on the calendar as a day that students would be off. So that's that idea of those competing priorities that we recognize, because some of the people here are those families that have to make those last minute accommodations. So trying to find a way to make sure that we do care about our families that would be disrupted by this, but also finding a way to care about our staff that we feel an obligation to. So that's, I think, the idea is as we move forward on this, because that's what I heard from the board, is trying to make those two come together and support one another together without further interruption. So I think there was support to move forward, and we'll trudge forward with that. Probably have future conversations and questions and concerns and all of that as well. Thank you. And we will move on to item 6, future agenda items. Does anyone have any future agenda items to suggest?
I think they have my list, so I'm good.
So we have, just to put on your horizons, Ms. White has her list. At our next meeting, of course, we're going to talk about, we've already said, the calendar. We'll move to approve the high school program of studies that'll be on for approval. And we also have, we'll have a conversation about potential website upgrades and communication. That'll be on our next regular agenda on February 2nd. So keep your eye out for those pieces.
At one of the meetings in February, I will have to give ESSER 3 update. It's required twice a year to present kind of where we're at publicly, accept public input at that time. So we'll be going over ESSER 3 and also kind of sharing. We have received additional ESSER money for special education, so it's separate from the initial big pot of money that we got. We'll kind of be going over what our plan is for that and opening that up for public input. Public input, just so everyone's aware too, is available on our website. There's kind of our return to instruction plan at the bottom has a link to kind of the budget plan for ESSER 3, and has another link where you can enter any of your comments or anything regarding either one of those. So that'll be whichever one is less heavy with presentations.
And I can tell you, after I email Mr. Iacono, the good news for him, as one of his first questions will be when we can all get together to have a board meeting to start that process. So I'll send out an email so that we can try to get when we can and when we can't meet, so that we can get that to him and get that process rolling. Item 7, committee reports. First up is the 612 construction core team. Ms. White.
We will be meeting tomorrow at 1.
Next is the Alliance for School and Community Growth. Ms. Coco.
We did not have a meeting in January, but looking forward to our first meeting in February.
And
Second Tuesday in February.
we got an email today from a pastor that recently moved into town who's looking for ways to get involved. So perhaps you might let her know about the Alliance, if that's something she'd like to be part of to support our schools.
I can reach out.
Thank you. Athletics and Activity Council, Mrs. Schaefer.
I have not met yet, but it will be in February from what I've heard.
Board policy, it's myself and Ms. White.
I think we need to make a date.
We need to,
Sometime when we need to,
we need to meet soon, and it would be the 4 policy committee members, and we need Dr. Cruz to be there as well,
Yeah.
because it's
it's graduation.
graduation changes from the state and then homework, late work. I'll put that on the board to send an email, and we'll set a
Yeah,
date, and get that public
whenever is more
notice.
convenient. Again, I'm pretty well free anytime after 10 a.m. Just saying.
I'll put that email out tomorrow.
I get
so that
out, but
you
I'm a
can
night owl.
Get a date set so we can notice it and get those on the board. So,
Okay, thank you.
Business Advisory Council, Mr. Harris and Ms. Coco.
We have not met. There was a meeting that was canceled last week, or canceled/postponed due to COVID and other concerns. So we'll be awaiting
The
a
next,
date for that.
the next meeting is in February,
February?
February 22nd,
February 22nd,
8
all right.
a.m.
We'll
Those
make
are
sure you
quarterly.
get those dates.
Okay, February 22nd, I'm sorry, what time?
At 8 a.m.
8 a.m.?
And then the final one for the school year
I'm
is
glad I'm
May 24th at 8 a.m.
Will you email those dates to them as well, just so.
Yep.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Financial Advisory Committee Representative, Mrs. Schaefer.
I have not been to a meeting, but I have had some private tutoring.
I actually, while we were here, I emailed you the dates. The next meeting is February 17th.
February 17th.
And then those are quarterly as well, so February and May. I sent both of them to you
Thank
already.
you.
Foundation Alumni Association, that's me, and I do have a report. We met last week, and there's a lot of wonderful things happening with the Foundation Alumni Association. If you didn't get a mailing from them, that means you have yet to become a member, which means you should correct that by going to cfsfaa.org, where you can become a member of our Alumni Association and get future mailings. And if you become a member this year, you're going to get a folder, because this year is the 100-year anniversary of the old building of the high school, and we got a very nice commemorative photo put on the folder that you will get if you become a member. And why would you want to become a member? Well, for one thing, we have almost 100 years of yearbooks scanned in on our website that if you are a member, you can look through almost 100 years of yearbooks and learn about how far we've come. And I think that's a great benefit. Secondly, are the scholarships that you help provide with your membership. We have given over $1 million in scholarships in only 7 years. Last year we gave out 57 scholarships. Scholarship applications are open. If you know any seniors, encourage them to apply. We would like to give them our money, so let them know. We also have teacher grants that we give out. We call them teacher mini grants. They're a maximum of $500, and those are open as well. I know of at least one teacher who's working on a mini grant because they reached out about it, but that's another thing that we provide as the Alumni Association and your school foundation. And we talked about making some connections possibly to the Historical Society, because part of our mission as an alumni association is to preserve our past. We talked about how that could benefit us as a strategic partnership. And one of the other things you get as a member of the Alumni Association is quarterly we send out profiles on alumni that have done something cool that we want you to know about. And Dan Arginas, who's our communications chair, does those. And one of the ones that's going to be coming up is one of my classmates that graduated in 2008, Cameron Sheets. And if you know what RuPaul's Drag Race is, there's a newsletter that goes out, official newsletter that goes out the Monday after. And my classmate Cameron Sheets writes that newsletter under the RuPaul's Drag Race banner. And so I thought that was very cool, and we're going to profile him. And
That is
so if that didn't convince you, I truly don't know what will. And that's the end of that report. Our legislative liaison, Mr. Harris.
Yes, I do have a few things here. I believe Mr. Gomez mentioned a couple of those at the last meeting. Governor DeWine has signed a few things here. Senate Bill 166. That's a bill that establishes a Student Pathways for Career Success grant program and requires the state to create a program that establishes financial incentives for Ohio businesses to provide work-based learning experiences for students. There's also House Bill 29. It's a bill that legalizes, regulates, and taxes sports gaming, prohibits betting on any sport or athletic event if a player is under the age of 18, and requires 98% of profits to be used for K-12 education. House Bill 122, it's a bill that establishes and modifies requirements regarding the provision of telehealth services of school psychologists, speech language pathologists, occupational therapists, occupational assistants, and so on. There has been a major piece of legislation recently introduced in the House. It's House Bill 529, which requires public and non-public schools to post on publicly accessible website course curricula, including a course syllabus that includes a list of all instructional materials, activities, and textbooks, and a written summary and state academic standards. That's all I have.
Thank you. Next up is Student Achievement Liaison, Ms. White.
We will be meeting on February 7th.
Thank you. Student Wellness and Success Liaison, that's me. We talked a lot about the staff piece of that. I also, when I stopped in to talk to Holly Merkel, we talked about how the projects that she's working on are something the board would like to get more information on in the future. When I popped into her office, she was working on processing some of the panorama survey results that we did. That I don't think that's quite ready to bring to us just yet, but that work continues. We talked about the YMCA partnership that we have, what that's looking like and what that should be like going forward. That's a big piece of student wellness and success for our district. And I'm continuing my tour of attending our Gender and Sexuality Alliances. I was able to go to Roberts and Bullock, and now I get to go talk to our students at the high school. I'm looking forward to that. It's an integral part of what Mrs. Merkel does to support diverse students and to make sure that they feel welcomed so that they can be successful in our district. And then on to comments. If I haven't talked enough, I'm first up for comments. I just want to give a huge thanks to Mr. Bugatti and his team of people for two things. One of which is there was a bench at Preston that was bugging me because it had yellow caution tape. I said something to Mr. Bugatti about it, and within 2 days, he and Mr. Woodard and the building and grounds team not only got back to me, but fixed the bench so that now our kindergartners at Preston have a bench that they can sit on. And I think that goes to show how invested everyone in our district is in our student success, because that was something that was impacting our students by not being able to use that bench. So he and his team prioritized that because the students matter in what they do. And my thanks for that. And also with the snow yesterday. Many of you know I work just down the way here at City Hall, so I drive up Stowe Avenue many times a day. And by noon yesterday, not only had they plowed our lots, you could see the pavement in the huge high school lot. The work that they do, you know, when so many of our staff are fortunate to have a day away, the people in Mr. Bugatti's department work even harder on those days, and not just building and grounds, but Chef Bill and food service often come in on those days off to check on deliveries to see if milk's gonna expire because of that. So our huge thanks to those that work on what is otherwise a day off. And now, Mr. Harris.
Yes, I just want to say thank you to the folks who came out to the community meeting last week to get an update on the building project. There were a lot of great questions, and I appreciate Mr. Smith, TDA's patience in responding to every question. I thought it was very, very fruitful. I want to echo what's already been said. Mr. Gomez and Mr. Chabity, thank you so much, Mr. Bugatti and your team for taking care of everything after this winter storm, I think we got a little bit more than we anticipated, and you guys really kept us in shape and got the staff and students back safely. And as a former talent agent, I'd be remiss not to mention the upcoming One Act Festival on Thursday, January 27th, and on Friday, January 28th in the Little Theater. The high school, the festival showcases 4 student directors as they present 3 one-act plays. Each of the one acts is about 20-25 minutes in length, and all 3 shows will play on each night at a festival. You can get your tickets online, and I had to have my wife let me know what backslash was here. cfallsathletics.org/event-tickets. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Mr. Schaefer?
I do not have much. I'm new to the board this year, and I just wanted to thank the people that have really been helping me learn what I'm supposed to be doing and help educating me on the direction that I need to go to make myself a better board member, and I'm very appreciative, and I hope that the help continues.
Thank you. Ms. White?
I just echo everybody for the thanks, but I also have an article, which you knew I would, but oh well. It's entitled Redos and Retakes Done Right. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'd like to read some of the highlights. Many teachers reason that they are building moral fiber and preparing students for the working world by denying them the opportunity to redo assignments and assessments. Or if they do allow retakes, by giving only partial credit for redone assessments, even when students have demonstrated full mastery of the content. These are the same teachers who set a deadline for submitting work and then give students who do not meet that deadline a 0, thinking that the devastating score will teach them responsibility. In reality, these practices have the opposite effect. They retard student achievement and maturation. Blind adherence to pacing guides makes little sense as well. The goal is that all students learn the content, not just the ones who can learn on the uniform timeline. Curriculum goals don't require that every individual reaches the same level of proficiency on the same day, only that every student achieves the goal. Allowing students to redo both assignments and assessments for particularly important standards and outcomes most of the time is highly effective. True competence that stands the test of time comes with reiterative learning, and we carry forward concepts and skills we encounter repeatedly, and we get better at retrieving them the more we experience them. We write a lot of essays in order to become proficient in essay writing. We become adept at analyzing politics by analyzing a lot of politics, and we get better at playing the guitar by playing the guitar a lot, not by playing it for a week and putting it aside. LSAT, MCAT, Praxis, SAT, bar exam, CPA exam, driver's licenses, pilot's licensure, auto mechanic certification. Every one of these assessments reflects the adult-level working world responsibilities our students will one day face. Many of them are high-stakes tests. People's life depends on these tests. Validity is accurate measures of individual competence. All of them can be redone over and over for full credit. So basically, there are some tips. Ask students who redo assignments to submit the original attempt with the new one and to write a brief letter comparing the two. What is different? What did they learn as a result of redoing the work? Announce to the students and parents that redos are permitted at teacher discretion. That means that students and parents may not take the redo option for granted. And there are a few more, but I just wanted to finish. The recursive nature of successful learning shouldn't be discarded because it's inconvenient, or we haven't figured out how to do it logistically. We improve with practice, descriptive feedback, revising our practices in light of that feedback, followed by more practice, feedback, and revision. It's the way authors write great books. It's the way scientists discover. It's the way machinists solve problems. Why should we deny these opportunities to the next generation? And there are other ways that we can do that by simply asking them, what their goals are for that project, and then creating a rubric that, okay, this is what you said you were going to do. Did you do it? So it's kind of a a thing, and I think that we should look at more of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. White. Ms. Coco?
I just wanted to echo again the thank you during our Snowmageddon for Mr. Bugatti and all of the support staff that got everything where it needed to be for us to have school today. I drove by a couple of schools yesterday afternoon, and knowing how long it took me to clear just my small driveway, I cannot even imagine the task that you guys had, so thank you very much for that. And thank you to all of our administrators and Mr. Chavity and everyone for working so hard and tirelessly to keep our schools open. It was a huge concern coming back after winter break, and I know it has not been an easy task to keep us going and keeping the students in the building, so thank you.
Then move on to item J, executive session. Pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22G1, it is hereby moved that the board adjourn to executive session for the purpose of considering the employment of a public employee. Do we have a
So moved.
second?
Oh, second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Ms. Coco?
Aye.
Mr. Gomez?
Aye.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Hi.